This is the special meeting of the town council. Please all rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lisa, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Peter Drappo.
Here.
Dale Macklin.
Here.
Jerry Kurian.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Here.
Joseph Gravel.
Here.
Jeff West.
Here.
Malia Trahan.
Here. Lisa, before you go to the next one, we have a council member whose birthday it is today.
No.
It happens to be Jerry Kurian. If he wants to tell us how old he is, he can, but that's up to him. Happy birthday, Jerry. Happy birthday,
Happy
Jerry.
birthday.
Yes, and if you want to know how old I am, it's 77.
Congratulations.
Young, years young, right?
Young, old, medium.
77's the new 55, right?
There we go.
No, new 45.
Wow.
Okay, Lisa?
Alrighty, so, there are no minutes to approve, no communications, no reports of committees or commissions, so we are gonna go right to public comment.
This is the point in our meeting where we have a public comment section. Any member from the public is entitled to speak for 3 minutes on any topic that is not on tonight's agenda. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on an issue not on tonight's agenda? There being none, we'll close the public portion, public comment session.
Next item we have is tabled business, which I believe we are leaving on the table, is that correct?
That will be kept tabled.
So that takes us right to old business, ordinance number 19-2022, providing for establishment of the Winslow Public Safety Department.
So moved.
Second.
At this point, when we come up to an item that is on the agenda, any member of the public who would like to speak for 3 minutes, the difference between last week was 5 minutes because that was a required public hearing. This is not a required public hearing tonight. So according to our rules, it's a 3-minute limit, versus 5 as of last week. So is there any member of the public who would like to speak on this item agenda? Fran, you go to the podium and state your name, please.
Hi, my name is Fran Hudson. Since last week, I wrote this because I didn't want to leave anything out. Since last week's meeting, I was able to gather more information from some of the counselors and our town manager. And I wanted to say thank you. Last week, directly after I spoke, the town manager stated the information she had just spoken on was ignored. I wanted to clarify I didn't ignore what you spoke about, and I apologize if it came across that way. This plan has been floated out here very quickly, with scattered and very little information to the public. It was presented to us publicly in the Morning Sentinel, for those who actually read the Sentinel, 1 week after the chief's resignation. It was then presented to us by the council and the town manager last week. When I asked if this was discussed and planned prior to the chief's resignation, the town manager's reply was no. That would mean it was thought up, brought up, discussed, and set into motion in 1 week's time. And now, after just 1 more week, an emergency meeting is set to be voted on for the 6-month trial period. It was not ignoring what you had spoke about, it was more confusion and wonder as to how this came about so quickly and why it was being pushed through so very fast. Why is with most big changes to the town-related plans, there were no committees, no research, no data presented to base this decision on. I do realize you don't need the residents' permission to put forth this plan, but I would hope you would want their support. This rush is questionable due to there being an interim fire chief that can be utilized as long as you need him to be. I also read that the rush is due to wanting to have the trial done prior to the next budget in June. Those two reasons to me, and acting so quickly, just don't seem enough. I was glad to read that the firefighters were present at last week's meeting in support of this new plan. That does ease my mind because I do feel the fire department will be the ones that will stand to lose the most out of this plan. They will be losing the support of the chief, while the police officers will still have theirs. In a sense, he'll just have a different position. At this time, there is such a severe shortage of fire, police, and EMS people that it would be devastating to Winslow to lose even a couple from each department if they were not happy with this change. You did make mention of keeping a close eye for fairness during this trial. I wanted to mention a conversation I had with a battalion chief. He is no one I know personally, and I was directed to him to gather some insight on this type of program that the Augusta Fire Department did back in the 80s. After I spoke with the fire battalion chief that was involved with the Augusta Fire Department's attempt at a similar program in the 80s, he explained that they
Fran,
also...
time is running out. Do you have much more to go?
I just want to say, I'll say my last, if you don't mind, my very last thing. Will you put into writing prior to this trial the benchmarks that will be used to measure and prove the success of this trial? I ask that you make the benchmarks public so we, the people you represent, can, as the members of the people you represent, can see for ourselves if it's a success and make an informed decision on whether or not to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. I'll just make one comment on your last statement, Fran.
Yes.
It's the goal, and I think we haven't talked about it yet, but we will, that at each council meeting that we have for the next 6 months, our regularly scheduled council meeting, we have public comment time. If anybody has any questions about this, that they want cleared up, they can come into any one of those meetings as you did tonight, and there will be at least that public comment time. If something more serious comes up, or more important comes up, we can change our rules if we want to allow for more time during this 6-month period.
But they didn't answer the benchmarks. Will there be benchmarks made public prior to the trial, was my question.
So the benchmarks are difficult, I agree, and we did not have a lot of discussion ahead of time, as you mentioned. So I probably won't have benchmarks prior to January 1, and Chief Bolduc and I have been discussing a lot about that as well. So Chief
Don't you
Bolduc...
think that's a rush if you don't even have what the criteria you're looking for to see if you met it?
Well, I can understand that, but I think the benchmarks here are going to be a little bit more, it's going to be hard to have actual measurements. How do you measure if it's going right? You can always speak at the public meetings, but we also intend to have regular meetings. I've already talked to both chiefs about this, that I want to have regular meetings with the public that are not these meetings. They will be in the evening so that the most people can attend. Everybody, Chief Bolduc, Chief McDade, and Lieutenant Hubert will report at those meetings. They'll be here for questions and answers and report on what we've found so far and how we're going. Now, hopefully, out of that, we'll be able to develop some benchmarks pretty quickly, but it's going to be hard to do that prior to January 1 because, as you said, we have gone very quickly with this.
We can't ask questions if we don't know the criteria you're going by to measure the success.
I think the biggest measure of success is going to be whether there's any degradation of services to the public. So I encourage anybody to make note of that. There's also going to be a measure of success with how the staff is doing. The staff need to be involved in this intimately. I would like to commend Chief Bolduc just since the short time that he has been taking the reins. He has already started doing daily meetings with his staff to garner feedback and to try to get them more involved with the daily operations and trying to say, you know, what's going on, what went well in your shift, what's coming up for the day ahead. And I think that's going to keep his finger a lot more on the pulse of what's going on directly in the fire department. Police already does something similar in their department.
And all of them will be reporting to me so we can figure out what's going on, because I think the biggest issue is going to be is how does it affect the personnel? And the personnel have to all feel supported. They have to all feel like their jobs have not changed substantially as far as what they're being requested to do, what their responsibilities are. The only thing that this should change is at the leadership. If we're seeing any changes at the staff level that indicate that we have any issues of unfairness, of one department being favored or lobbied for over another, then that would be an immediate issue. I know it's hard, because you have to trust me for me to say this, but my goal is to keep fire moving in exactly the direction that it has been since Ronald Rodriguez took over the reins back in 2018. His vision for where we want to go is still the vision, and he set that off, and that's invaluable, and he will always be recognized for that. So without him here, my number one statement, and I have made that statement to Chief McDade, I have made that statement to the council, is that we will not backslide from where we are now. The ambulance service will continue to operate and grow. The fire department will continue to train its employees and become as professional as it possibly can be. The chief put a lot into place going forward there. And in my discussions with Chief McDade, he also agrees that that's where we need to go with this. So I think a lot of it has to do with my leadership at the top demanding a certain level of performance and the behavior isn't the right word, but how we treat everybody going forward and making sure that we keep our staff involved the whole way along. This doesn't happen without both police officers and our fire staff all being able to provide input and understand that, as we see issues come about, they need to be brought up, and they need to be brought up quickly so that we can assess why is this happening, why is it working, or why is it not working, and either make an adjustment or say this is like a really critical obstacle for us to overcome and it may not work.
But just to clarify, nobody's questioning your job as town manager or the officers or the firefighters. They're questioning the program you want to put in place. And if you don't have the benchmarks for all of us to see, we can't ask questions how it's going because we already have two services that run well. So the only way it's going to go is to fail. We have no measure of success. So that's what you're saying. No benchmarks to make public to all of us, the town, the people you represent. So we'll just sit in the dark and wait.
Well, we're going to be developing those benchmarks. I just can't promise you they'll be there by January 1st. I will say that
this whole plan in a week.
It needs to be
And why does that
recognized.
bother you so?
It bothers me because it's quite a significant change you're putting to the town.
Absolutely not.
It's
It's the
not.
same people in place, Fran. Why is that so hard to understand? Let me finish, then I'll let you
You
finish.
don't need to point your finger and get upset and be defensive
Well,
of me
you-
either. I have the right to speak.
We're beating a dead horse. We're using the same people that are here. The same fire chief, the same police chief. One of the two will be the public safety director.
Have you ever heard if it isn't broken, don't fix it? Don't question.
What makes you think it's not broken?
So the only thing that we are changing is the administrative umbrella. That's all that's changing. The departments themselves will continue to run as they have been. So I guess my question back to the public would be, we are investigating, trying to do this. It will save you approximately $105,000 a year at a minimum. And we have a problem with taxes, so this might be a way for us to save a little bit of money and still make it work. If not, we'll go back to getting another fire chief. Now understand, we have no idea what we'll be paying a new fire chief
Or if you
because
lose staff, hopefully get new staff.
I don't know why we would be getting new staff. I mean, obviously, we will have to publish positions if this becomes a permanent change. We would have to publish a public safety director job. We would have to publish a deputy police chief job. For
And
somebody.
if they don't want it, you have to hire someone different. So that'll cut in on your savings as well.
But it won't, because the lieutenant will be eliminated no matter what. So at that point, if Lieutenant Hubert does not want to be a deputy police chief, he would have the option to bump down in a sergeant position, and that would start a bumping process. So yeah, there's a risk there. But again, we'll have to see how that goes. Lieutenant Hubert understands where we're at with that. The chief has spoken to him about what those parameters are. So far, he seems to be on board with trying it. Again, those questions can't be answered until the end when we decide if we're going forward with that or not. But overall, it is an administrative change. The very top positions are the ones that are subject to change. Nothing below the level of lieutenant in police or below the level of deputy chief in fire is affected.
And I just want to apologize if you felt I was beating a dead horse because I had concerns, so I'm sorry.
No need
It's
to
okay, we don't
apologize,
need to.
Fran.
We're good.
But why can't you and I speak at some point so I can give you my opinion?
I've already got your opinion by what you guys are doing now. You didn't want my input prior, why would I sit down and
Yeah,
talk about it now? I'm good.
say too. This isn't a new concept.
No, it started in the 1950s. Why aren't there more municipalities that use it if it's so successful?
There's more and more using it all the time.
Well, it started in 1950.
Brewer does it. Orono does it. Hamden does it. Old Town does it.
Did you guys speak to them?
Yes, I
Just how
have.
it's going.
I have a gentleman that is up in Old Town. He's police. He's the deputy chief up there, and they love it. They report to one person. That person deals with all the administrative stuff that they don't have to do anymore. You know, when we were on that committee for the ambulance, what did everybody say? Ambulance will never work in Winslow. What did we tell them?
We had a committee to decide it.
What did we tell them though, Fran? It works everywhere else, why won't it work here? Can anybody answer that question for
This
me?
is a lot different, Jeff, and you know it.
This is not
You're
different.
messing with two separate departments of career people.
It's a manager of people. That's what that top job is. It is a manager of people.
I understand.
You don't need to know anything
What
about fire or
the
police.
firefighters and the police officers? That was their career. That's their career. And you're
Okay,
juggling.
they're still in the
You're
career.
changing it.
They still have their career.
I'm gonna put an end to that. Actually, that was part of your 3 minutes, Fran, and we went way over.
Thank you.
And the discussions that we're having are good discussions. They should take place, they will take place. I think, myself, this is something we have to give a try. We have to. If it fails, we'll get back. But we have to at least try it. Is there any other member of the public who would like to speak on this issue? Please state your name at the podium.
I'm Mike Joseph, and I guess we pretty much said everything last week. We heard from the public, most of the public, from what I understand, did not like the way it's going. I don't think there was enough information, and for doing a trial run of 6 months, that's never been done in the government, let alone state or federal. And why are we doing it here? We're gonna try it before we even know what the heck we're doing. We don't have any amounts of money. We don't know what we're really spending. Well, we're saying we're gonna save $100,000. What happens if it fails? But we shouldn't be going into a trial run for 6 months. We should have the people understand what's going on before we even decide to do these things. I mean, most of the people that I talked to in this past week, they didn't even know what the heck was going on. They said, what? So, you know, the people has been speaking, and you people, you councilmen were all voted in by the people. Did you ask individuals, and how many of the individuals that you've asked knew that was going on here and actually was in concern of it? Can anybody answer that? As far as I'm concerned, this is not the way we should be conducting government here in this town. And you all people know that because you were voted in by the people. And this right now, it's not by the people. Thank you.
Mr. Counselor, if I could, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman?
Erica.
I just want to point out that there is an accounting, actual accounting, not just an estimated or a off-the-head guess. It was published on Sunday. Current structure, including benefits, which gave you all of the current salaries with benefits, because you have to look at the loaded benefits when you talk about how much a position costs the town. Our current load with one police chief, one lieutenant, one fire chief, and one deputy fire chief, and using the former fire chief's salary, noting that he didn't take any of the benefits, was $460,208. A potential for a new fire chief could raise that an additional $11,000 if that person were to take full benefits and come in at the top of the scale. The proposed structure is one public safety director, and because when we analyzed the police chief salaries at the last budget, the public safety directors around the state were included in that. I don't anticipate a significant change to the police chief's salary. We would have one deputy police chief that would come in at less than what the lieutenant earns now because he wouldn't be getting overtime anymore, and one deputy fire chief that would be equivalent to the deputy police chief. The total on that bill is $355,923. So there is an actual accounting of the money out there.
So this wasn't told and said until just now. This wasn't actually set in stone of the amounts of money to the people before you decided that you were going to move forward.
Actually, it's not set in stone now either. It was, the salaries haven't changed. We told you what the estimate was $100,000. It turns out the actual estimate, I was off by about $5,000, and the savings is actually $105,000. It was told to the public at the public hearing that we would save about $100,000. I formalized the accounting. I went through it over the weekend and documented everything and went through everyone's current salaries and what potential salaries would be for a new fire chief. There's a range with benefits. At the low end, if they came in at the first level of the scale and did not take benefits, it would be $92,000. At the high end of the scale with full benefits is $118,620. Again, that is salary plus benefits. So nothing, it's not that we set anything in stone. These are the people that are currently in place. It's the salaries they already get.
Is this the way we know we conduct business, is that we do a 6-month trial with these numbers here and trying with people's lives? I mean, we're using this is a 6-month trial, and we don't even know if it's going to work.
But they won't change. Nothing will change for anybody in place until the end of the 6 months. That's why it's a trial. So in the interim, nobody's titles actually change. We're going to try the structure, but nobody's salaries change. The lieutenant will be the lieutenant until we actually make a final decision on whether we go through with this, and at that time, the restructuring would be done and the salaries would change at that point. Nothing will change as far as the people that are in place right now, their benefits and their wages at this time.
Any other member of the public who'd like to speak on this issue? Yes, sir.
My name is Chris Soucy, and just going to let you know that, first of all, I'm indifferent. Obviously, I have views, but I've spent a little bit in the military, and I thought I would offer up a little bit of advice to you guys. So I hear the concerns from Fran and lots of others. Actually, Fran and I probably hold a lot of the same political views, but aside from that, setting benchmarks, right? If you're going to set benchmarks, you have to have quantitative and qualitative data, which obviously you guys don't have, which is, it's fine to tell the people that quantitative and qualitative data is going to come in 6 months, and at that point, we'll be able to decide whether we have success or failure. But you still have to have some sort of idea, right, of what the benchmarks are going to be, like how many of this, how many of that, and how good is that data? So for you to succeed in your case, which may be to save money, I don't know what the reasons are, but I think if possibly you could explain, and Eric and I have talked about this, and she's told me a little bit about it, but I don't think the whole public knows. If you could explain the administrative duties. I think at the last meeting you said the new position will consume all the administrative duties that the fire chief and police chief were doing. I believe that was your quote. Again, after being in the military, if you conduct a job analysis and there's a list of administrative duties and they're identified, And you can say which ones the public safety official will be doing, and which ones are gonna stay with the deputies, right? They're gonna still be in charge of the two departments. I think if you can extinguish, if you can say who's doing what and explain it, you may get your point across, but I think there's a lot of cloudiness in the idea, that's all.
Thank you, sir.
It's not just-
Is there anybody else from the public who would like to speak on this issue? There being none, we will close the public comment portion of this session. We will go on to council discussion. Any council?
Yeah, I have something.
Ray?
I think one of the benchmarks that I look at over the last 15 years that I've been on the council is the quality of the individuals that we have. 90%, in my estimate anyway, 90% of what happens in the fire department is handled by the rank and file members of the fire department. Those are the most important things. Their interaction with the public as far as saving lives, with property damage, responding to calls, the training that they do on a continuous basis, and I have full confidence in their ability to perform those functions. And that's a benchmark that I look at. I know this is a trial administrative, and I understand Mr. Susi, I was administrator at Pasapi for 45 years. I understand that I had goals that I had to achieve in my departments that I ran, and I understand that fully. And I understand too that it's a little vague right now, but the only way this is going to succeed is if it's a 1-month trial, a 2-month trial, is that everybody has to be on board. The rank and file have to contribute to this, have to communicate to Mr. Baldick. Mr. Baldick can't make this program successful. Chief McDade cannot make this program, and you cannot make this program. Everybody, rank and file, both individuals, and the communication skills that's needed will make this successful if it's going to be successful. And if it isn't, we have to have honest conversations with everybody. And I challenge the departments, Chief, Mr. Baldick, and the rank and file members of the fire department to keep that communication, because if we do have issues, we need to resolve those issues. And the worst thing, and I don't believe it'll ever happen, but would be that we would suffer as far as response to the public. And I don't think that's going to happen. And I think the quality of what we have in our fire departments will prevent that from happening. So those are some of the benchmarks that I look at, and I think those are the parameters that I look at for this trial period here.
Anybody else?
One of the things
Yes, Jerry.
is that if we perceive that we don't have any transparency in the public, then we're gonna have a hard time with this. If we show that we have transparency and that we try to inform them, that includes, getting the media involved. It's nice to say we're gonna put something out there, and 6-month trial, and at the end of that 6 months, it doesn't work, these people are gonna say you weren't forthcoming with us. And there's a lot of people in that public. You got 8,000 population in Winslow. I'm done.
Thank you, Jerry. Yes, Erica?
I would say that, again, I think both Councilor Karen and Councilor Kirian are correct. We need to have a lot of engagement. So that's why I want to have those monthly meetings and those are open to anybody, including our fire and police staff at all levels. So anybody can attend. We can be reporting on what we found so far. I think some immediate benchmarks we can come up with is the number of calls we run right now and the number of calls we continue to run, the time of response to our calls, and does that stay the same? The duties, I thank you, Chris, for bringing up, trying to clarify that, because you are right, and it's just been, again, a matter of time. As Fran said, we did rush this pretty quickly, so getting out a list of what the actual duties are. We're working on developing what the job description would be for the public safety director by looking at the other towns that have it. And, you know, again, you don't recreate the wheel. You take what's already out there and then adjust it for the needs of your specific municipality. So those are all points well taken. I can definitely have the job description out prior to January 1 as to what that would be. And as soon as we know for sure that we are going to do this, I can start setting the meetings up well in advance so everybody knows they're coming. And again, I intend to hold those meetings in addition to the council meetings, so there's not an issue with time. So we can have those meetings separately and make sure the public's involved. The media, I do make sure that, we've got a wonderful new reporter at the Morning Sentinel, and I say wonderful because she's very engaged.
Okay.
And we haven't had that in a long time since Greg Levinsky left. So Zara Norman is a reporter that's assigned only to Winslow and Oakland. She generally shows up at all the meetings now, and she's also always looking to get more stories about both towns. So she will be invited to every meeting as well, and I'm going to keep her informed as we go along. I found that so far her stories have been very even, presenting both sides of the issues. So I think she's really good at that. So that's what I can make sure happens as we move forward.
So, if I'm correct, you say that your monthly meeting would be at the second Monday of every month, unless it's a holiday.
No, I would have to schedule them on a day different than what the council
Okay,
meetings
good.
are. So, so that they don't conflict, but also in the evening so that people can attend. So we'll have to look at what works on the calendar for that. Wednesday nights tend to be booked up with things like comp plan and stuff, so we'll have to find a night that works for everybody that's not already booked with some other town business like planning board or comp plan committee or other things like that.
How much lead time?
Well, like I said, once we know that this is going forward, I can schedule them all out all at once and make sure that they're published.
Anybody else? My thoughts on this is that when the chief resigned, there were options that we could have in this town as far as the administration goes. And when the idea of a public safety department came up, and I looked into it myself through various sources, I thought it was at least an opportunity to try. And I base that mostly on the feedback I get from people in this town. I've said this before in many council meetings. We have an excellent fire department. We have an excellent police department. You throw in the possibility of saving some money, and I came to the conclusion that I have every confidence that the people involved in this are gonna put everything they have into it, including all the administrative staff. The council will continue to look into it. The people are there. If the people weren't there, that we had confidence in making this a success, we probably wouldn't be doing it. But I think the people are there, and they'll give it all they have to make this, give us their best effort and see if it can be worked out. Because if it can, it's a good program. Rushing this through this quick, there are some budget considerations coming up. We go 6 months. We're into the middle of June, and our budget has to be finalized for the June election because the school board has to go to vote. So it's going to be tight at the end on how this is all budgeted and worked out and what we can really have for savings. So I think if we all get together and give it a try, let's all give it a try and see how it works out. If it doesn't, I'll be the first to vote to go back to the old system. That's all I have. Rocky?
Yeah, I definitely would like to commend the people that have contacted me. Like I said to the people that did contact me, I said, very rarely do I get a lot of feedback from people actually contacting me, other than me out in the public running across people. So I do really appreciate that, and that's the only way that, as a counselor, I can kind of see what the public is feeling. And I can understand Mike's and Fran's concerns for sure, and don't feel that we're not seeing that I'm not seeing that, Mike. I really do appreciate that, and Fran, same one. And this, to me, it's the perfect time to try this, and with these meetings every month, I would encourage you guys to show up to them, and so that we can, as a group, see if it's working. And you can see and hear exactly what we're hearing from the administration,
It's a public meeting.
and let's give it a try, you know, that's all I'm asking. And in 6 months, if it doesn't, you know, we'll address it then. In the budget concern, like Dale said, I mean, that is, we're talking July, the new budget comes out, so we have to have it done prior to that. So, I mean, that is a big constraint we have, so that's what I'm gonna say. But I appreciate definitely you guys contacting me.
Some of the people here, the councilmen, have they actually contacted some of the public people that they know and see
I mean,
what they say? I did.
Yeah.
Quite a few phone calls. Most of them didn't even know what was going on. They didn't even understand it, so well, what's the numbers?
And I encourage people to, I mean, social media, I mean, how do you get a hold of everybody and put it out? I mean, we do Facebook, we try to hit every possible way of getting it out.
Yeah, but 30% of the people here in Winslow are the elderly, and they don't go with the computers.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, to go to everybody's house,
No, not
you
going to
know.
everybody's house, but make the public more aware of what's going on before you start rushing things through.
I mean, if you know of ways that we're not, you know, attempting this, I would be the first to say, what are they, and we definitely could go that direction.
Probably stay in touch with the people that's in your district, probably even more so than just making, you know, a ruling or a judgment and trying to push it right through. I think that would be a lot better, and I think it'd satisfy the people in saying they're not being left out. You know, they depend on the people here that they're voted in, the councilmen, but they also depend on them being trustworthy as far as being truthful to them and bringing the presentation to them and seeing what's going on, because a lot of them don't. And when it does, they're upset.
And like I said, I mean, I'm out in the public a lot,
Yeah,
so
I
I
know you
mean,
are.
to go, I mean, other than going door to door, I don't know how else, you know, I
No,
could
I
make
see.
it.
Yeah.
We've got a nice new sign, we could write, new public safety officer, for more information, go to www.
This is technically discussion time among the council.
I just thought I'd
And-
check.
We have our rules and procedures we have to go through,
Fair enough.
and we try to keep them consistent. And we let it go a little bit tonight because of the nature of the conversations. But we appreciate
So
all
that's
your
all I've got to
comments.
say, thank you, Mr. Chair.
One of the things we could do
Thank you, Rob.
would be to, you know, you got Crossroads TV to see if they run, because a lot of the elderly watch that. And I know darn well, as far as some of these other houses that are elderly, they're looking at this right now. And if they don't like it, they will tell me.
It's hard to get everybody out there informed. I talk to a lot of people. I sit on my front porch and I'll talk to 30 people this week, walking by, not so much now with the cold weather. And we have these conversations on every subject that comes up. And I make a point of making sure at certain times of day, I'm sitting on my front porch when people walk by, and we'll have these conversations. The outlets that we have now, obviously, are these council meetings, Facebook, the town website,
Use the sign too.
and the sign. At some point in time, the public has to take some initiative too, to look for this information. It's out there if you want it. The town websites, the emails to the town, you can ask questions, send in questions anytime you want on the town email accounts, and they'll get answered. That's another way for the public to become involved. We would like to see more of that. We would like to see more people attend these meetings. And we get the 2 or 3. So unless we go out knocking on doors, it's hard to talk to 50 people to get their opinions on that. But the information is out there if people wanna find it.
Do we have,
No questions, no questions. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make one final statement. We do put this out on the sign. I think Crossroads TV is definitely something I can look into, whether there's an ability to do public service announcements on that as well. I would say that the elderly population is not quite as non-tech savvy as, I think it does people over the age of 60 a little bit of an injustice to say that none of them can utilize these things and don't, because actually some of my most active people on Facebook fall into the older age group. So I just want to make clear that I don't think everybody's, there certainly are some people, and there's some people even in the younger age groups that don't engage in social media and don't think to go to the website. That we're trying to get the word out about the website, and as was just mentioned, there is a contact us option on the website now that is getting utilized by quite a few people. I'd like more people to use it. The report an issue button on there where you can report any number of issues that you're finding in the town, anything from I've got a pothole at a certain location all the way up to I have a problem with the way a department's running. So please utilize that if you are online. The sign we will continue, I mean, the sign has limited, it's a great thing to get banner things out, like we put out there that we are having the public hearing for this, we put out that we were having the second meeting for this, but people can't read a lot as they drive by, and sometimes it gets a little distracting when you have too much out there. Poor Katie, I've been telling her to put stuff on the sign to the point where we've kind of had to pare it down because we had too much out there for it to be effective. But I think I think the point's well taken. We need to use as many outlets as we possibly can. We also utilize the Town Line newspaper, not as widely read, but we keep a stack of those in our office as well. Every week when that comes out, it's available. And again, I will look into Crossroads and see if there's something we can do there.
Can we get back to doing the Sentinel?
We do the Sentinel when it's a big public hearing. This one did go out in the Sentinel. But the cost on that, our advertising budget is enough to pay for one legal ad in the Sentinel. The Sentinel charges an incredible amount of money. And very few people actually read the Sentinel. Their readership's way down. So it's not necessarily the best use of taxpayer dollars. That's why we try to maximize the other options.
Anybody else on the council?
No, really quickly, I just want to say, as far as this council, I think they're out in the public a lot. I've never seen a council more interactive with the public than what I see here and the 7 of us here. So we do get out and we do talk to a lot of people. And, you know, and a lot of times when I start bringing up subjects, people don't want to talk about it all the time. They want to talk about certain things. So, but we do talk a lot, and we do have, I think, a finger on the pulse of our districts, and the whole town of Winslow, too. That's it.
Anybody else on the council? None. Lisa will have a roll call, and this is the second reading.
Yes, Peter Drappo.
Yes.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Quirian.
No.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Second reading passes 6-1. Okay, our next item on the agenda is order number 27-2022, providing for authorization for the town manager to enter into a contract with Haley Ward to perform a municipal facility study at a cost not to exceed $49,000 with funds allocated in the town office, fire facility, and police facility capital line items in the fiscal year 2023 budget.
So moved.
Second. Any member of the public would like to speak on this issue? There being none. Lisa, roll call?
Peter Drappo?
Yes.
Dale Maplin?
Yes.
Jerry Kurian?
No,
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
Order number 27 passes 6-1. Next item on the agenda is order number 28-2022, providing for authorization for the Public Works Director to sign the attached revised letter of agreement with Jericho Engineering for design engineering services for the Cushman Road and Robert Street Stormwater and Sewer Project.
So moved.
I did.
Any member of the public like to speak on this issue? There being none. Lisa?
Peter Drappo.
Yes.
Dale Maplin.
Yes.
Jerry Kurian.
yes,
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Order number 28 passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is order number 29-2022, providing for authorization for the town manager to purchase property abutting the Winslow Elementary School identified as tax map 19, lot 27 from Kennebec River Development Park, hereinafter referred to as KRDP, for the sum of $80,000.
So moved.
Second.
Any member of the public wish to speak on this issue? There being none. Lisa?
Peter Drappo.
Yes.
Dale Maplin.
Yes.
Jerry Kurian.
no,
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Order number 29 passes 6-1. Next item is, I don't miss anything. Order number 30-2022, providing for authorization for the town manager to consolidate overtime budgets in the police and fire and EMS cost centers into a single overtime line item under each department per the attached list.
So moved.
second,
Any member of the public wish to speak on this issue? There being none. Lisa?
Peter Drappo?
Yes.
Dale Maplin?
Yes.
Jerry Kurian?
yes,
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
Order number 30 passes 7-0. And that takes us to the end of the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn. Second.
second.
Show of hands. It's unanimous.
Good.